Good morning. Checking in for audio and video while folks join. My name is Karen, coming to you from Central Vermont to wherever you are. Yoga Your Way, Yoga Intermissions. We're here for 50 minutes together. And today our session is energy shift. So we use a combination of breath work and focus and mudra and movement to bring a shift of energy into a positive space. It can be tough as you get into the doldrums of summer. Thank you for checking sound and audio. Sound and audio, same thing, sound and video. As we get into the doldrums of summer, sometimes we kind of forget about what it feels like to have a positive mindset, especially with the Delta variant moving in and the like. So we're going to start with a mudra, a hand gesture, and a story. If the hand gesture or anything doesn't work for you in this practice, please feel free to modify. So if you find that the mudra doesn't work, you can just place the palms face up on your thighs. We're going to go ahead and bring the pinky fingers together and the thumbs together. And open up the hand. Yep, it's kind of like a blossom, sort of like a flower. And you can either bring it to your heart, which is its traditional placement, or you can bring it into your lap, which I find a little more difficult. You let the shoulders drop down, press the pelvis forward, and loosen the thighs. By the way, you can't see it right now, but I am wearing sneakers because I still have a sprained foot. Not necessarily recommended for yoga, but that's what's happening today. So in our Padma Mudra, which is the mudra of unconditional love, we're placing this hand gesture, this shape, right at the center chest, the heart space, the area of compassion, the chakra whose energy whirls around in kindness and unconditional love. Sometimes it's occluded. Sometimes it's not. Maybe close the eyes, your choice. Come into the breath and let the breath deepen. Begin to feel this sense of warmth in the heart. And if you add Ujjayi breath into the breath, a slight constriction at the back of the throat, that can help to create physical warmth and a physical opening. A person went to Africa and visited a small village, a tribe in a small village, and was conducting an experiment. This person placed a bunch of fruit into a basket, a really full, beautiful, brimming, blossoming basket, and he placed the basket at the foot of a tree. He had all the children of the village stand far enough away from the tree that they would have to go a little distance to reach it. And he instructed them that the first child to the fruit basket would win that fruit basket. When he gave them the go signal, instead of immediately running, they reached out and grabbed one another's hands. And together they ran to the tree. And he said, well, that was interesting. I'm a little confused. What caused you not to go and pursue that one at a time? And they said, Ubuntu. I am myself because you are yourself. The dependence on one another, on the energy that is shared, to have the behaviors to be the person you are at any given time. So now as you consider the Padma Mudra, maybe you consider some being or beings who have influenced or on whom you have depended knowingly or unknowingly to become who you are today. Because the heart chakra is associated with the color green, you could consider the notion of a green thread. And the thread connects you with that being or beings. And as you breathe deeply, each breath in, the thread grows stronger. And each breath out, the thread gets thicker. We breathe in and out. In and out. And again, in and out. Retaining your mudra, or perhaps pressing the palms together in a prayer shape. Consider now an intention for the remainder of your practice, or maybe it's the remainder of your day. We will work heart, breath, and fire as we continue to extend this sensibility of the practice. Ubuntu. Press your palms together now. Take a big, huge breath in through your nose. Release it out your mouth. We'll kick off the more physical part of the practice with a chant of Om. Not required to join in. You could always imagine Om is riding out on your exhale, out your mouth. We'll take a long, full, complete breath in. You might remain in your seat if you find it difficult to sit on your heels, but we're going to go ahead and move into sitting on our heels. I just want to check. It looks like I have maybe a message from someone on what they can hear. Okay. Glad everyone can hear. So we're shifting from seated on our cheeks to sitting on our heels. I'm going to use a pillow in support of my sprained foot, so I'm not fully putting my weight on that. And we're going to start the physical part of the practice with a lion's roar, which is really a combo of breath and physical posture. But first, we're going to bring the heels of the hands toward the knees and round the spine, drop the head. And then drag the heels of the hands back toward the hip creases. Arch the back, lift the heart, squeeze the shoulder blades together. And then find your way somewhere in between that middle arena. I'm going to kneel upward so as to be kind to my left foot. For lion's roar, the idea is we breathe in as deeply as we can. And then as we forcefully exhale out the mouth, the eyes also open and we make a sound. This is a combination of an uplifting, powerful, fiery breath, while also a releasing of the toxins breath. So we breathe in, and in, and one more time. We're going to find our way to a tabletop. Reminding ourselves that at any point, if something isn't working for us, it's totally cool because it's just yoga. We're not winning any prizes. We're finding kindness to ourselves within ourselves in a way that enables us to connect that kindness to others. Knees right under the hips, feet as wide as the knees, and we draw into cat-cow shapes here. For the cow, it's a breath in, the belly drops, and the gaze and the hips lift. For the cat, it's a breath out where we press the ground away, round the spine, scoop the belly up. 2 more of those, and if you like to add any movement to that, feel free. You could move left and right. You could add hip circles. You could add a little bit of reaching of the sitting bones back toward the heels, which personally I happen to like. It works well for my body. After your third or fourth round, you're going to pause for some stillness. And go ahead and step 1 foot behind the hand on the same side. We're going to come into a bit of a crouch, but not with the bum higher than the shoulders, not lower than the shoulders. So step the other foot behind the other hand. So you're in a bit of a wide-legged forward fold. Feet are parallel to the outer edges of the mat. Belly is on your thighs, and bend your elbows, ragdoll. Let the hands each cup an elbow. Check that your feet are even Steven, and take a sway. And you might say, this doesn't feel anything like I'm changing my energy to something fiery or loving, but it is a bit loving. We're kind of working to ground into the earth, and we release the hands to the earth. A halfway lift, the belly starts to power up. Low belly and mid belly, exhale, fold. Imagining you could get super long from the top of the pelvis all the way to the solar plexus, your fire area. You're going to unravel all the way to standing, and then use an inhale to sweep the arms high. Exhale, hands together at your heart. We're going to move into a couple of fire postures, starting with the hands on the hips in fists. You might decide you want to bring the thumbs inside or outside the fists. Superhero pose. This is a really fun one to use with kids, but with adults it's kind of nice too, because it's working on the arena of self-esteem, releasing anxiety, as well as building up a little fire. So start to feel the breath move really nicely just under the breastbone. So the belly will float outward as you breathe in. And then you keep breathing in to lift the heart a little bit. And you release it. And when you're ready, with the fists really pressing into the hips or just above the hips, you tuck the tailbone a little, soften your knees, send your weight evenly into your feet, lift the heart, and then lift the head, opening up the throat chakra, this area of purification. So we breathe here for 5. And we move into a victorious stance, lifting the arms overhead in a V, keeping the arms in a fist. Breathe in and out. Maybe Ujjayi breath again, constriction at the back of the throat, really reaching those knuckles of the fists upward. Grow all the way from the inner arches of the feet, up the inseams to the shoulders and then the head. Press your palms together overhead and reach the arms to the sky. Draw the belly in, tailbone down, bend the elbows, fingers come to the nape of the neck or between the shoulder blades. Cactus-shaped arms. Elbows reach outward, belly moves in toward the spine. And then hands drop behind you. Elbows remain bent. You might just stack your hands. You might hook your fingers, or maybe you intertwine them behind you. Only once we have the intertwining and press the fleshy part below the back down, soften the knees, and lift the heart, do we start to consider lowering the knuckles toward the earth. Collarbone, smile like the most hysterical emoji. The heart lifts and the shoulder blades start to fall a little bit in love. If you like, you can move the feet a little closer together, but not all the way there. And bend into your knees for a modified bound chair pose. Checking in that you're not shifting your shoulders way over your knees, but rather the belly's drawn in, the tailbone drawn down. And imagining that as the collarbones and the shoulders and the chest open, so too does the weight move into the heels. We'll take a fold over the legs, keeping the knees bent so the belly connects with the thighs. And once you're down there, the head's super heavy and like it's on a bungee cord of the neck, maybe the hands float a little bit away from the spine. Maybe not. Exhale, hands release to the earth. Breathe in. Exhale, reach to a long flat spine. Ardha Uttanasana, shoulders toward the hips. Pause here, full rounded breath. Draw the belly in. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale. Breathe out, rise to standing. Arms will sweep high. You'll find that this simple set of movements is going to start to build heat. Exhale, fold over your legs. Take your time, knees bend. Belly contacts the thighs. Inhale. Exhale strongly, halfway lift. Inhale. Exhale, release and fold. Inhale. Breathe out, float all the way up, rising to standing. Starting to warm up, breathe out, bend your knees, fold over your legs. Breathe in and out, half lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Flat back, exhale, forward fold, breathe in. Exhale, rise all the way up. Chair pose, Utkatasana. Maybe a little rounding of the arms, pinkies. Spin toward one another by rotating the shoulders. Energy in the heels. See if you can sink down a little bit more. Inhale, rise to standing. Exhale, forward fold. I'll take that again. Halfway lift, long flat spine. We're going to add a posture into it. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise all the way to standing. Arms will lift high. Right hand drops by your right hip, or maybe you place the hand on the hip. We breathe in, getting tall. See if you can stack the shoulders over the hips and tuck the tailbone. Exhale to tilt over to the right. And this isn't just a tilt. It's not a crunch of the right side. It's an opening of the whole left side of the body. So use the outer edge of the left foot and lift from there all the way to the underarm, which helps lift the heart. Maybe the gaze moves upward, perhaps toward the wrist or the palm, or maybe not. Inhale, rise up, both arms high. Exhale, left hand drops to your thigh or comes to your hip. We breathe in to get tall and lift, lift, lift. Exhale, stretch over toward the left side of your space. Again, energy into the outer edge of the right foot this time. And we reach up toward the armpit, maybe lifting the heart and the head so much that you gaze at your wrist or thumb. Inhale, both arms overhead. Chair pose once again. Inhale, float to standing. Breathe out a forward fold over your legs. Halfway lift. And a fold. Left foot reaches toward the back of the mat. Setting up a runner's lunge. You're on the ball of the back foot. Finger tops on the ground or blocks. Shoulders toward the hips. Squeeze the left glutes and the left hamstring. Crawl your hands forward just a couple inches so they're in front of the right foot, but to the sides. And then press that front leg long. Lift the left knee toward your nose. Inhale, lengthen the leg behind you. Maybe it comes straight out of the hip, or maybe it's lifted. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, lengthen the leg. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, lengthen the leg. Step the foot back, runner's lunge once again. This time, we're going to move the fingers back toward the right heel. They're still framing your foot. You're going to extend the front leg and reach the ball of the foot off the mat, finding a stretch, drop your head. Inhale back to your runner's lunge. Exhale, lengthen your front leg and fold. One more time, runner's lunge. Exhale, lengthen and fold. Fingers crawl forward, hike the back foot a step up the mat so the soles of both feet are all the way on the earth, Parsvottanasana, pyramid pose. Press a lot of energy into the front heel, squaring your hips, and then a lot of energy into the back heel. Left fingertips stay down on the earth, and the heel of the right hand comes to the low back. You might crawl the left fingers forward, bring the hand and the arm with it, and then reach into a half lift and twist on an exhale. Exhale, right hand back to the mat so that the hands are forward of the foot. Draw the knee to the nose, left knee one more time, and extend the leg out and up. Find your way back to chair pose, Utkatasana. Firing things up, the quads, the heart, the area around the solar plexus. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, cactus arms again. Big breath in. Eagle arms, right elbow underneath the left. Maybe one rep, maybe two. If you are in a position to take a balance, you're welcome to lift the right knee up toward your heart and cross the ankle above your left knee. You might find a full eagle, wrapping the right leg around the left. If you are in full eagle or a form of standing figure four, unravel your legs. Everyone lift the arms high. Exhale, fold, hinging over your legs. An inhale, followed by an exhale, half lift. A forward fold. Right leg reaches back, runner's lunge. Hands creep forward, lift the right leg. Knee to nose. Inhale, extend the leg behind and up. Breathe out, knee to nose. Inhale, extend out and up. Knee to nose. Breathe in, reach that leg as long and straight as you can. Step back for your runner's lunge. Hands move back so they frame the front foot. We make sure the left knee is over the left ankle, and if we feel at all wobbly, the left foot moves out to the left. Right heel reaches back, and the right glutes power up. Hands move back a little bit. Breathe out, press the floor away with the whole front foot and extend that left leg, fold over it. The right heel comes a little closer to the mat but does not connect necessarily. Inhale, peel forward, runner's lunge, shoulders toward the hips, belly energy in and up. Exhale, lengthen and fold over your leg. Inhale, runner's lunge. One more time, extend that leg, fold over it. And then hike the back foot a step up the mat for Parsvottanasana. You can always use your left hand to spin the left thigh outward. Press energy into both heels. Place blocks or cushions under your hands. Let your head hang. Heel of the left hand comes to the low back. Breathe in a half lift, long flat spine. Exhale, a twist to the left. Exhale, hand releases to the mat. Back foot steps up to meet the front. Once again, we move into chair pose. And now people are saying, what? No more Utkatasana. We love Utkatasana. And if you draw the belly in and the tailbone down, sending the weight into your heels, you find a little less energy in the thighs. Left arm forward, right arm behind. East and west pose, staying in your chair. Right hand drops behind your left glute. Lift the left arm, stay in chair. Little twisty, back bendy sort of thingamajig. East-west pose, left arm forward, right arm behind. Arms float in front. Let's lift up to standing before we sink back into chair in an east-west pose. Right arm forward, left arm behind. Left hand down behind your right glutes, right arm high, stay in your chair. Stay in your chair, arms reach forward, torso faces forward, lift up to standing. Woo! Exhale, cactus shape arms. This time, left elbow under right for eagle arms. In your choice to remain upright, find a chair, find a standing bound standing figure 4, or your full eagle posture. Arms float high overhead. Exhale, forward fold over your legs. Halfway lift, long spine. Exhale, hands plant. Left foot steps to the back of the mat once again, but then we pivot toward the long edge of the mat. It was promised that there would be no warriors. I tentatively thought about warrior 2 just now, and then remembered I said no warriors. Half lift, hands under your shoulders. Stay here for a minute as you draw the shoulders toward the hips. Draw the belly in toward the navel, so kind of zipping up the midline. And then reach the sitting bones behind you. You need to send energy into your heels. And then walk the hands over toward the left foot, maybe just in front of it, maybe outside it, or maybe the hands come to the ankle. Let your head drop. Hands draw through to center. Exhale, crawl them to the opposite side. Hands come back to center. We're going to move into frog, so walk the hands forward. I know everyone might be saying I'm not quite in the fire chakra for sure. We're going to drop the knees to the earth and align. You might scoop things backwards so everything's on the mat, at least the knees and the feet. So the heels and the knees are intended to be in a straight line. The inner edges of the feet are on the mat. And we bring ourselves to our forearms and drop the bum back and down. Some folks might find they have more opening in the hips and the knees start to move outward a bit. You can adjust as need be. And maybe even the arms come into a cactus shape and the head comes to the earth. Perfect season for frog pose. When I think about opening the heart, building fire, connecting with the energy of others, I think about allowing ourselves to be vulnerable. Sometimes that can be tough to do. An emotional vulnerability if we were in this posture on our back or in Supta Baddha Konasana. But this gives us the practice to feel open and protected while we are opening up the body. So the front body is now energetically linked to the earth. Just like with Ubuntu, our prana, our life force, our life energy is connected to all beings. Hands come underneath the shoulders. We find whatever way we need to come back to a wide-legged forward fold. But then we move the feet a little closer to one another so that they are sort of just outside the hips, a little wider than the hips. The left fingertips come to the mat under the nose. The left knee bends a lot. The feet are parallel. We bring the heel of the right hand to the low back again. We lift up for halfway long spine and then take a twist to the right. This is intended to stretch your IT band. And for some of us, maybe the feet are too wide and we don't feel anything. So we move the right foot closer into the left. We twist from the belly, not from the shoulders, and that can help. I'm feeling a little bit in the glutes as well and the hamstrings. And maybe if you unbend your left knee, that can bring a little bit more of an opening along the outer side of the right leg. On a breath out, the right hand drops and we take all that schmagegi to the other side. Lengthening the left leg, right knee bends, heel of left hand to low back, half lift long spine, exhale, twist to the left. I'm finding with sneakers on, I don't get quite as much depth as when I don't have sneakers on. Both hands drop to the earth. They come to your hips and we rise halfway up. Draw the shoulders toward the hips. Keep the belly really strong. Exhale, rise all the way up. Pivot on your right heel so the right toes face the front of the mat and step forward. We're going to move into some back bending as promised, opening up the heart. We worked some fieriness with some very simple postures, and we'll do that again before we finish. Arms lift high overhead. Exhale, forward fold. A halfway lift. Breathe out for your fold. Step back, a high plank or a tabletop. And then cross your ankles. We're going to roll over the ankles or find any way that makes sense for you to come to a seat. I need to tie my sneaker. From the seat, give yourself a hug around your shins. So the knees are bent, soles of feet on the mat. Knees draw together. Wrap your arms around your shins. We're rounding out the spine, kind of giving it a little extra length before we move into back bending. So when you're ready, your choice, you can straighten your back and use the belly a lot to come down to the earth. Well, we're going to do some core work later. Or you can just, one vertebra at a time, roll all the way onto your back. Once on your back, keep the soles of the feet on the mat, and then lift the arms overhead. Not quite a Supta Baddha Konasana, but opening up the belly, the heart, and under the arms, upward, creating a connection with space. And maybe coming back to the being or beings you pictured at the beginning of class and imagining at the heart a green thread that connects you with them. You are who you are because others are. The feet come wider than the hips, not a lot wider, but a little bit. And then for anyone who has low back iffiness or wonkiness or pain or what have you, you're going to move the feet forward toward the front of your mat. Not a ton, but you're not going to bring the heels as close to the bum as you might normally for a yoga style bridge. We're moving into a Pilates style. Shift your shoulder blades one at a time so that they're fully connected with the earth. Hands drop by the sides, palms face down, and maybe you have a little more wiggle room there to move the fingers toward the heels and rest. Imagine like the tops of the shoulders kind of roll backward, almost as if it's melting frosting toward the earth. Press your pelvis toward the sky, so you're lengthening the low back. We're not lifting yet. This could be where you stay. You might, if you decide to stay here, just working the pelvis toward the sky, kind of lifting the glutes a little bit away, squeeze them. And you can always press the shoulder blades into the earth and lift your heart. If you're taking the bridge, you're keeping the pelvis lifted toward the sky, and then as if you're dragging your heels backward, like you could pull the mat toward your spine. You're floating the knees forward and lifting the hips off the mat. They might not come very high. You're using all the edges of your feet. Press the tailbone high again. Squeeze the glutes, squeeze the hamstrings, maybe shimmy your shoulder blades underneath you a bit more toward one another. Use the hands, use the backs of the arms. And don't forget to squeeze the glutes and the hamstrings as you press the tailbone, lifting the pelvis toward the sky. The chin should be tucked a little bit so that the back of the neck is long. We're going to breathe here, firing up for 5, 4, 3, open that heart, 2, and scoop the belly in, 1 vertebrae at a time. You're going to drop the spine all the way to the mat. You might shift around. You might drop the knees in toward each other. We're not taking a twist and not windshield wipering the legs so we don't come all the way out of the work we just did. Set yourself back up. And we'll take that again. Pelvis presses to the sky, energy into the heels and feet as you draw them back, activating the calves. Knees move forward, hips lift off the mat. Check in with the pelvis, lift it high. Activate, power up the glutes and the hamstrings. Sneak the shoulder blades a little more toward each other. You might shift around for that. And revisit all the parts of the body that are helping you lift from the mat. The belly should be part of that. Any variation you might desire, you can take here. You could lift a leg to the sky. You might lift a leg to the sky and then cross that same ankle above the opposite knee. Maybe you take a restorative. Maybe you find this is too much and you need a cushion or a block or a rolled up blanket underneath you. We're going to continue to breathe here, imagining that we have a block between our knees. That makes the glutes work harder. And we unzip all the way back to the mat. That is 2 of 3. So maybe again, you shift things around to lengthen the low spine. Drop the knees together. Tops of the shoulders, melting maple frosting down toward the earth. And one more time, or remain here in a relaxing posture, your choice. Checking in with all the piece parts, all the components, including the breath. Reminding yourself that this opening creates that energetic connection, solidifies, allows that connection to blossom with all other beings. And we start to recognize how much we are like others, all seeking happiness, maybe just in different ways. Maybe in ways that aren't as beneficial, or maybe in ways that are super beneficial. And then all of that is inside ourselves. Unzip from this, come all the way down to the mat. Bring your feet as wide as the mat, and let the knees touch. If you need to lift the low back away from the mat and reset it, go ahead. You might bring the arms into a cactus shape and then rock the knees left and right, a windshield wiper song. And for me, I find eventually dropping the knees all the way to one side feels super delicious, especially because I was just talking about maple frosting. Grade A, dark. And then if you drop them all the way to one side, take them all the way to the other. We like to meet up our asymmetry to be as symmetrical as possible, to be kind to the body. And then the knees hug in toward the chest for a good long squeeze. You might shift things around. You might find things are popping and crackling like Rice Krispies. And maybe it feels good to draw circles in the air with your knees. Maybe like you're spreading that maple frosting. Now I'm totally stuck on that. I may need to bake today. And whatever way works for you, rocking forward and backward or coming onto one side, we're going to find our way to a seat. And we're going to face the long edge of the mat. I say we. You're doing whatever you want. And we're going to extend the legs outward. I don't have super open hips or hammies, but we're reaching the heels away from us. And rather than hunching forward, see if you can press the pelvis forward and then lift from the hips and the top of the pelvis all the way to the upper ribs and the solar plexus, your fire area. Face your left leg. Take a big breath in. Exhale, fold over your leg. Now only go as far as it feels okay. And allow for as long and straight a spine as you can, rather than forcing the nose or the chin or the forehead to the knee. That right foot and leg are gonna want to turn in. So you need to really work the heel away. This isn't just about stretching along the left hamstrings and calf. It's also about stretching the right side of the body and being conscious of what the leg is doing. Adductors and abductors. Adductors add things inward and abductors take things away from one another. Come through to center. Might not come very far. I'm not super stretched here. You might come really far if you're generally very flexible. Breathe in. Exhale, come to the other side. Draw your way back through to center and lift up. Keeping the hips wide, so not squared. We're going to take the right foot and bring the heel as close to the sitting bones as you can. So the foot might be connected to the inner left thigh. But instead of the left leg being straight out of the hip, it's spread outward. We're going to take a look over the right knee. Take your left hand maybe to the shin of the right leg or the foot and float the right arm high. We're going to breathe in, getting really tall, draw the belly in, and then take a shift over toward the left toes. Heart is opening up, and if you like, the back of the left forearm might now come inside the left thigh. Not required. As you rise up, both arms high, and then drop the right hand beside the right hip. You're going to shift forward onto the right shin, press the left toes to the floor, lift the hips away, sort of rock star pose as you draw the sole of the left foot to the earth and the hips up away from the mat. Heart lifts, mid-body gets long, Look up toward your hand. Sit back down. Sweep around toward the left thigh and take a fold over the leg. Use an exhale to rise to your seat. Extend your right leg now so the legs are as wide as you can make them. Reach the heels away from you. Lift the heart. I was just kind of hunched over. And this time we bend the left knee. Sole of the left foot to the inner right thigh, or maybe the heel very close to the sitting bones. We take a look over the left knee. Remember to take the right hand either to the left shin or the ankle or foot. Float the left arm high and lift from the hips all the way up to the top ribs, the shoulders. Exhale, tilt over toward the right leg, right toes with the left fingers. And maybe the back of the right forearm comes inside the right thigh and chin. If you lift toward the sky, it really starts to open the hip area on the left side. Use the belly to lift up both arms overhead, left hand down. Come on to the left shin, the right foot, and lift the hips up and forward, right arm toward the sky. A rock star. Heart opens, glutes squeeze, and we come back to our seat. A look over the right leg and a fold over it. Rise back up. Bend the right knee and then bring the soles of both feet to the mat. Hands come beside your hips or behind you. Lift your feet off the floor and pivot on your sitting bones to face the front of the mat. We're moving into our last core work before we come into Shavasana. Arms out in front, feet are a little apart, arms lock into the shoulders. Breathe in. Exhale, lower a quarter of the way down toward the mat. Lift the heart as you breathe in. Gather in the belly. Exhale, come a quarter of the way down. So we're now halfway toward the mat, roughly. Inhale, heart lifts. Exhale, a quarter of the way down. Woo! Inhale, heart lifts. Exhale, all the way down to the mat. Arms drop overhead. Beautiful. Knees gather in toward the chest. And it's your choice. Happy baby. Hug the knees in and make knee circles. Or you can find your way into a twist. I'm going to go ahead and drop my knees to the left. And this is the final posture before Shavasana. I'm going to take if you're doing something symmetrical, you'll take 5 or 6 breaths. If you're doing something asymmetrical, so one side at a time, you're going to do 3 breaths on each side. So now I'm moving on to my spine once again to drop the knees to the right. And gently find your way into your final shape for Shavasana. That might mean something under your knees or over your body. Maybe knees are bent or in the traditional shape. Body is long on the mat, space between the feet. Arms by your sides with space between the arms and the side bodies, the palms face up. Big, huge breath in. Let it go. Ubuntu. The connectedness with all beings. A green thread from the space in your heart to all those who contributed to your behavior, your thinking, your actions, your words that you have today. And those green threads spread outward to all beings. Or if not for the beings and situations around us, we would not have formed as we have. Take a big breath in and out. Bend one knee at a time to roll onto your side, doesn't matter which one. And return to your intention. Keep your head heavy as you press yourself back to a seat. We'll close practice as we began with the sound of Om, allowing the palms to find their way to your heart. They press together there. We lengthen the neck. We lengthen the torso. Breathe in fully. Before we bow to one another, make fists of your hands and raise your arms in a V. Breathe in. Breathe out, feeling victorious with your beautiful practice. Press the palms together overhead. Bring the thumb knuckles to your center forehead. Namaste. Thank you to each of you for sharing your practice, for joining me, whether live or recording, Memorex. I hope everyone's feeling good, that you have a fantastic remainder of your day or evening, and that you have an opportunity throughout your day to consider that this other person you're observing or interacting with is simply seeking happiness, as do you. Have a great one. Thanks, everybody. saltandsandstudios.com. Lots more classes to hang out with me, especially during the summer. And if you have the funding, donations are welcome.